What's going on, guys, and welcome back. So today I want to talk about what's in my camera bag, portrait edition. So I do a lot of portraits, I do a lot of cityscape stuff, and depending on what I'm going out to shoot for that particular day is going to dictate what's in my camera bag. And today I want to talk about what's in my camera bag on the days that I go out to shoot portraits. So I'm going to cover camera bodies, lenses, my lighting gear, my bag itself, and maybe a few of the accessories that I bring with me to portrait shoots to kind of get the images that I get and to do the things that I do. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump on into the gear. All right, so first things first, let's talk about the camera body. So right now I'm currently using a 5D Mark III. This guy right here, it is by far my favorite camera that I've owned so far. I bought this guy probably, I'd say probably about 5, 6, 7 months ago, something like that. It was last summer I bought it after starting off on a T6i and then upgrading shortly to a 77D, which I actually still own and I'm filming on right now. That's kind of my primary YouTube video filming, video camera, whatever you want to call it. But my 5D is definitely my go-to camera for photos. It produces amazing results at full frame sensor. I love the way it looks. I love the style that you get off of it. Photos just look absolutely fantastic. Plus you get the improved ISO performance and all the other good stuff that comes with having a full frame camera. And this thing is, it's a little bit of a beast. I like it. It's rugged, it's got a nice feel to it. I love the grip. I've thought about maybe switching over to mirrorless, but I got started on Canon just because I didn't know any better. When, like most of us, we just picked something when we got started. I happened to pick a T6i, and I'm kind of in the Canon realm at the moment, and I'm kind of fine with it. I actually don't mind the features that I have on my Mark III. I'm happy with it, and I can produce portraits that I'm more than happy with. They're sharp enough, there's plenty of resolution, and yeah, I'm happy with it. I love it. Great camera, very solid. Definitely take this thing with me everywhere, love it to death. And yeah, I would definitely like to upgrade to a Mark IV eventually, but yeah, for now the 5D Mark III, my go-to, loving it. So yeah, 5D Mark III, main camera body. Okay, let's talk about lenses now. So my favorite lens, by far the one that I use all the time, is my 85mm 1.8. So is this guy right here. I've already made a video on this lens. Made it a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago now at this point, talking about why I think it's a really great underrated lens for Canon shooters. The 51.8, everybody owns that lens. I actually have it, and that's one of the lenses in my kit, but this one is, I think, quite a bit better for portraits than the 50 in my opinion, but that's just because I love that really deep separated look between your subject and the background. I love being able to take that background and just blow it way out, get that crazy separation, get that really nice, beautiful background bokeh and blur. Yeah, just an absolutely fantastic lens. It is a 1.8, so it is fairly fast. You do get quite a bit of light with it, so you know it's great for working in low light conditions, if you're shooting indoors, if you don't have any off-camera lighting to use, or if you just can't use it because you need to be more discreet depending on where you're shooting. Yeah, fast lens, beautiful background blur, and just all around great value. This lens is only about $330, $350 if you buy it refurbished through Canon. I think it's like $350, $360 if you buy it brand new. It's not a very expensive lens compared to some of the options that are out there, especially the other 85mm options from Canon. So yeah, fantastic lens. If you're looking for an 85mm, something that's more in the telephoto range, if you're looking for a new portrait lens, go get yourself an 85 1.8. I do not think that you will be disappointed. Okay, next up, probably the lens I used to use the most, but now it's probably dropped down to the lens I use the least for portraits, is the lens I was just talking about a moment ago, is the Canon 50mm f1.8. Again, tremendous value for its money. I think it's like 120, 125 bucks brand new. You can get it used for probably under 100. Tons of these copies on eBay. Just be careful though, there's a lot of imitation copies on eBay. I would actually recommend just spend the extra 15, 20 bucks and get it either refurbished or brand new through Canon or wherever. It's not an expensive lens, but that way you'll know that you get an actual real Canon lens and not a knockoff, because there are a ton of them out there. But yeah, otherwise, same with the 85. It's a 1.8 maximum aperture, great for low light situations, great for when you need a little bit wider of a lens than the 85, taking a little bit more of the scene. It's definitely great for that. And it's just super light. I mean, this thing you can toss in your bag and it's almost like it's like a freebie in terms of weight. It weighs next to nothing. It's not like you're tossing it in your bag and it's a compromise between do I bring it, do I not bring it? It's so small, it's so compact. Right now I got the lens hood flipped around like if I was gonna shoot with it, but you know, if you turn it the other way, I mean, this thing is almost like a pancake lens. It's so small, and it weighs virtually nothing. You toss it in your bag, you forget it's even there. Definitely a great option to have available for you. If you don't already have this lens, I highly recommend picking it up, because not just for portraits, but it's also great for product photography. It's great for street photography. It's all around versatile lens. Definitely pick it up. It's a favorite of mine. And yeah, so this pretty much goes with me on every portrait shoot that I do. All right, my third and final lens that I bring on pretty much every portrait shoot is going to be my 35 f1.4L lens from Canon. This is my newest lens for portraits that I picked up not that long ago. I maybe have had this lens for maybe a month, maybe 2 months. I primarily actually bought it because I wanted it for weddings. I've been shooting a few weddings this last year, and you know, I love having that wide maximum aperture, that 1.4 for receptions, just because it's always super dark in receptions, and using off-camera lighting can be tricky depending on how high the ceiling is, what the ceiling is made out of, what color it's painted. So you can't always use bounce flash, especially on big dance floors, because you might have a really tall ceiling and the walls might be far away. So to be able to open up that maximum aperture really wide and not have to rely on direct flash as much is really nice. But I also find that I've been loving it for just doing day-to-day general portraits with models and whoever else. It's a great lens. I love the wide angle feel to it. That 1.4 gives a really nice distinct blur to the background. It's not as prevalent as like an 85 or a 50, but it's got a nice look to it. It's got a nice aesthetic. That blur is pretty cool. I like it. And again, for low light situations, indoor stuff, it's great. Actually, I used this lens for an indoor shoot yesterday, and I pretty much used this lens almost exclusively. And yeah, it was a great option. One thing I've noticed with it though is that it tends to be not as sharp as the 85. The 85, I feel like 80% of my shots with the 85mm are in focus and tack sharp. This one I feel like it's maybe closer to 50-50 if I'm honest. I feel like it misses focus a lot more than my 85. But I did pick this one up used at the local camera shop, and it is not the most current version of the L lens. It's actually the previous version of the 35mm L lens. So that might have a couple things to do with it. But yeah, otherwise I still really love the lens. It's a great option. And I picked this guy up used for about $650, $700. So definitely a little bit more than the 85mm, definitely more than the 50mm 1.8. But I think it's a great option to have in your bag between the 35, the 50, and the 85. That pretty much covers you. The only other thing that you might want to pick up and throw in your camera bag, which I've been considering as well, is like a 135 f2. I think that could be another good option because I really don't like carrying around my 70 to 200 if I don't have to. But every now and again, I would like to have that slightly longer focal length. But anyways, 35 f1.4, it's the third and final lens that goes with me in every portrait shoot that I do. I love it. It's been working out great for me, and looking forward to using it more as the shoots go on. So yeah. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about lighting. So I try to bring off-camera lighting with me to as many shoots as I possibly can. I love off-camera lighting. I think that for some reason nowadays, there's a lot of people who have a disregard for off-camera lighting, or they almost frown upon it, or they think that it's somehow, I don't know, there's like a certain animosity towards it, which I don't understand at all. Somehow, like, I don't know if it's just going along with the trend of all natural vegan and I don't know, all that, and people think that somehow off-camera lighting is not natural, therefore it's bad. I couldn't disagree more. I think it's absolutely amazing light. It really fills in all the shadows on the faces. It allows you to really control and manipulate your scene. And you don't have to rely on just the time of day that you're shooting and the way the shadows are being cast. You can really take control of the scene and do exactly what you want with it. And if you use it properly, it's a very nice, beautiful, soft light. Yes, it's more gear you gotta bring with me, or I gotta bring with me. It's more gear you would have to bring with you. There is a learning curve to it, but it's not that bad. It doesn't take that long to learn. You really just have to force yourself to bring it and use it, and you'll pick it up fairly quickly, I'm sure. So yeah, lighting gear, let's talk about that a little bit more. So the first piece of gear that I bring with me on my shoots, especially for ones where I'm gonna be shooting, like when it's very bright conditions, very midday sun, is gonna be my monolight. And so this is the monolight I bring with me on a lot of my shoots, as many as I can. I think it's a really fantastic piece of gear. This is the Flashpoint Explorer 600. It's a very popular monolight. A lot of people are using it. It's a very affordable option compared to some of the ones that are out there, like from Pro Photo. This thing is about $550, I think, $600 without TTL. It's about $700, $750 if you get the TTL version. I have the non-TTL version. I personally don't find it that difficult, and I prefer to just adjust the light manually. But yeah, so this is a fantastic piece of gear. I love bringing it with me. Downsides to it, it's heavy. It takes up a lot of space. You really have to put it in its own separate bag, its own separate case, container, whatever, to bring it with you. It is somewhat fragile. It makes your stand that you're using a little bit top heavy, but it does produce a really great light. And if you're gonna be shooting in a midday sun scenario, like say if you're shooting a wedding or you're shooting portraits and it has to be done at like 1 in the afternoon and it's a super bright sunny day out and you can't control when you're gonna shoot, having this to overpower the sun, definitely very useful. And you can get some absolutely fantastic, beautiful images out of it. I love it to death. tremendous value for your money. Definitely recommend picking one up if and when you can. All right, so the next piece of lighting gear that I bring with me, or the next light I bring with me on a lot of shoots, is my Flashpoint Streaklight 360. If you're noticing pattern here with flashlight, yes, I use a lot of Flashpoint gear. I think it provides you really great value for the money. The lights compared to some other brands are very cheap, but you get really great quality out of it. And it's sold through Adorama, so if you ever have to deal with returns or exchanges or anything like that, you're just dealing with Adorama. You're not dealing with a third-party manufacturer directly, which is really nice. But anyway, this light is a 360 watt second light compared to the monolight, which is a 600 watt second light. So this one's about half as powerful. I use it for scenarios where I want a little bit lighter, more of a running gun scenario setup. It's not nearly as heavy as the monolight. It also doesn't produce nearly as much light or as power as the monolight, but it's not gonna be super sunny, or if I'm gonna be shooting at sunlight or at sunset, or if it's going to be a cloudy day out, this is a great option to bring with you because you don't need that much light like you get with the monolight. You can crank this guy up to like 1/4, 1/8, 1/2 of power, and then it's totally fine. You still get a really good recharge cycle out of it, and yeah, you can shoot all day long. You get tons of charges. It comes with this battery pack right here, and this thing, I think with this light combined, I think is rated to something over like 1400 full power shots or something like that, with like a 1 second recycle time with this Y cable connector thing. So there's no recycle time issues that I really have with it. I don't personally shoot that fast, really need a recycle time that quickly anyway. So to me, it's more than good enough for what I'm gonna use it for. But yeah, great little piece of gear. I do like it. Downsides of this guy, it's not a self-contained unit. So this thing does require a battery, and it does require this cable to hang down. And so when you're walking around with this thing, you've got this light mounted up on top of your stand, and then you've got this guy clipped to your stand, and then you got this guy kind of dangling from it and doing all sorts of weird crap. And that's kind of annoying. I wish it was self-contained little unit, but it is not. But it's lighter weight, and it's something that I deal with instead of bringing the monolight around when I don't need it. It's still more convenient than all that extra weight if you don't have to have that much power. Okay, next piece of gear I bring with me lighting wise is going to be some continuous LED lighting, or even non-continuous LED lighting. I actually use the Rhoodolite Neos. I've got this guy right here. This is the Rhoodolite Neo 2. I actually have a Rhoodolite Neo 1 as well, which is the older model, which is I'm actually using as a key light right now through just a clear umbrella. So I get two of these guys, the old version and the new version. This new version, if you're not familiar with them, basically the old one is strictly a continuous LED light with the ability to adjust the power from 0 to 100% and adjust the color from warm to cold within a gradient. This guy does all of that, plus it's more powerful, and it allows you to do high-speed sync flash capability with the Flashpoint triggers and receivers, as well with combining them with a sync cable. So yeah, very useful light. I use this in place of a speed light for anything where I'm gonna be shooting in a very low light condition and I want just a little bit of flash. I find that, you know, if you're shooting when it's dark outside, if you're shooting closer to dusk and the light's already gone down, especially if you're in the city and there's tall buildings around here that are blocking the setting sun from you and you need more light. Obviously flash doesn't help you with gaining focus, so having something that can work as both a continuous light as well as a flash at the same time is really great, because you can just set the continuous light really low, and then it allows your camera to be able to gain focus, but then it'll also flash to give you the amount of light that you need to balance out your exposure with your model. So it's very useful in that case. I love using it for that, and that's primarily the main thing that I use it for, as well as I use the older version of the Rhoodolite as a video light for when I film these videos. But yeah, super useful. They are damn expensive. This thing's like $400. The other one I bought when it was new, it was like $400. So they're not the cheapest lights in the world. There are cheaper LED lights that are out there. I bought into this system just because I like the idea of having the high-speed sync capability. But yeah, they're good quality lights. I like them. If you can afford them, I would definitely recommend getting one or two for your kit. Because the other thing that you can use with them, other than just using them as purely key lights, is you can also get colored filters that'll go onto them. And so if you want to get creative with your lighting and maybe throw like a blue filter, a green filter, a magenta filter in the background is kind of like a hair light or a side light or something, just to add a little bit of a color dynamic to your photos. Super cool and great for that. I actually use them in some of these YouTube videos to throw them in the background, and I'll just shine them up at the ceiling or against the wall, cast a little bit of a cooler blue or magenta hue, just to give a little bit of some visual interest to a video. But yeah, super useful little lights. Definitely recommend picking them up if you can. And again, I didn't buy all this stuff at once. This has all been over the course of a year. Pick whatever up when you can, whenever you can afford it. Get a little bit of money here from a job, pick up a light, get a little bit of money from another job, pick up a lens, that sort of stuff. But yeah, LED lights, Rhoodolite. I'll leave a link to it down below, as well as the rest of this gear in this video. But yeah, moving on. Okay, so let's talk light modifiers. So I've gone through all my camera body, I've gone through all my lenses, I've gone through the main lights that I use. So now let's talk about diffusing that light. So you can't really use a monolight just on its own. Bare bulb, same thing with a streak light, you can't really use that bare bulb. You're gonna get really horrible lighting. It's not gonna be flattering at all. You really do need a modifier to shoot those through. So the main modifiers that I use are a 36-inch Octabox from Westcott. Pull this guy out right here. And as you can see, it's pretty big. It's not a small light by any means. It's not something that you're gonna wanna use if you're gonna be shooting in the city or a crowded area. It's not gonna be a good running gun setup, but it is beautiful, it is great. The light that it casts is beautiful, I should say. It's really not that beautiful in itself. It's just breaking shit. But anyway, it's a very useful light, a very useful modifier. It gives you a nice soft light. You can set it back from your model a good 3-4 feet. It'll cast a nice even light over their entire upper body, their entire upper torso, and you get a nice wrapping effect of the light around you, or around your model, around your subject. It's a great modifier, highly recommend it. They're not super expensive, they're about 250 bucks. There are other options that are out there that are cheaper. The other thing that I do like about it though is that you can actually collapse it down. You basically just pull out the inner baffles, pull out the fusing elements, and then you can basically collapse it down like another umbrella, which makes it much easier to travel with. You can toss it in the trunk of your car, it takes up much less space. So obviously when it's all unfolded and set up, it's a very big, modifier. A lot of people, you're probably not gonna be able to fit it in your trunk of your car. You might have to throw it in the back seat if it didn't fold down. So that's one of the benefits to you spending the extra money and getting something like a Westcott, is you can actually break it down. Now there are some cheaper versions out there, again from Adorama. Their house brand, which is the Glow Parapop version, they've got a 38-inch. Same thing, it unfolds and then it folds back down, and it's a little bit cheaper. So that might be an option you want to look at. I've never used one myself. I can't speak to the quality of it, but the people that I've talked to or that I've seen doing videos with them on YouTube, they seem to talk pretty highly of them. They seem to like them. So that might be something that you want to give a try. There are other options out there, or just give Amazon a look in general and you might find something that you like. But that is modifier number 1. Okay, modifier number 2 that I use, I actually just picked this one up not too long ago. I wanted something that would be better for a running gun scenario. I do a lot of stuff downtown in the city, and as you can see, that 36-inch Octabox is much too big. If you combine that with a light stand and then the light itself and a monolight, and you're trying to walk down a busy city street, one, you're gonna draw a lot of attention from people that you don't want to draw attention from, and by that I just mean people that are gonna kick you out of a spot that you're shooting at, security, that sort of thing and whatnot. You want something that's a little bit lighter, a little bit more running gun, something that's not gonna draw as much attention, and something that you're just not be bumping into people with. I've been looking for a good option, and more recently what I've settled on, and by recently I mean within the last few weeks, is this smaller Octabox beauty dish type thing, also from Westcott. It's this guy right here. So as you can see, also still fairly big. It's not super small. You can't even fit it in frame here, but it's definitely a lot smaller than the Westcott Rapid Box XL. I'll put them side by side here in the video somewhere, so you can kind of see the size difference. It's really high quality. It's really rigid. It's got this diffusion panel in there, as well as a bounce ring on the inside. And I've used it with the monolight actually just recently, and it produced really great results. I was really happy with it. And it is a little bit smaller, packs down a little bit smaller when it's actually in operation. So I'm finding that it seems to be an okay option for running gun. It's maybe not as small as I would like it to be, but it's not bad. I'm actually pretty happy with it, and I like the quality of light that I'm getting, and I like the quality of it. It feels very solid. I'm happy with it. And again, like everything else, I'll leave a link to it down below if you want to check it out. But yeah, that has been my more running gun setup for city stuff. And then I use the 38-inch or the 36-inch Octabox, Rapid Box XL, whatever you want to call it, for the shoots where I'm going to be doing those, like in a park or an open area or on a beach, or just somewhere where I've got more room and there's not as many people. I'll use that for those locations, and then for more crowded locations, I'll use this guy. So those are my 2 main pieces of light diffusion. Last piece of diffusion that I'm going to talk about, and it's one I debated even covering in this video simply because I don't actually use it all that often. I primarily use it for weddings, and I've only used it for a few of those at that. But it's this, again, it's another Westcott product. It's this Westcott Rapid Box Octa Mini, whatever. It's basically a Speedlight Octabox. Again, it's very small. It's definitely a little bit smaller depth-wise than the beauty dish that I just showed you. I like it for primarily using it in weddings, especially during like the getting ready shots. If you're in somebody's house or if you're at a hotel room and you're doing getting ready stuff, I find that it's a little bit more manageable to get through those tight corridors, those tight hallways, those small rooms, low ceilings. It's just a little bit more manageable than either of the other two. Certainly the Octabox XL is much too large. Even the Beauty Dish, I've never tried using it in a hotel. I might try it in the future, but I have used this for a couple, and it does all right. It's not too bad. I don't use it for actual portrait shoots with models or clients outside of weddings really ever. I don't think I ever have. I don't know that I ever will. I typically choose settings for those to where I don't need to use something this small. And it's also kind of limited in the number of lights that you can use it with. You can use it for a speed light for sure, but the back of it doesn't really have like additional like ring mount or a Bowens mount or even a way to adapt like an S bracket to it. So you're pretty much limited to use it with speed lights with a hot shoe mount. And so for that reason, I don't use it very often for actual portraits outside of weddings. But it is another piece of gear I own. You can take a look at it, see if it's for you. I'll leave a link to it down below. Okay, so next things next, let's talk about camera bag. So what do I actually put a lot of this stuff into? Obviously I don't put everything in there. I can't fit all my lights and all my cameras, all my lenses into one bag. But obviously my camera, all my lenses will go in there, as well as some of my accessories, extra batteries, stuff like that. And it is this guy right here. It is the Low Pro Tactic 450 all-weather something, very long name. Very cool little bag, very tactical looking. You know, I like it mostly just because it's got a lot of room into it. I can pack a lot of gear into it, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. It's great because I can obviously bring a lot of gear. It's bad because I can bring a lot of gear and it means that it gets very heavy. And if I'm gonna be shooting somewhere where I'm gonna be lugging this thing around my back for a long time, it can be a little bit annoying. So I try to pack it as minimally as possible while still bringing everything I know I need for a shoot. But yeah, it's a great little bag, very rugged, very solidly built. It is a little expensive. It's like $200, $220, something like that. But yeah, otherwise very solid bag. I've been using it probably for about 7 or 8 months now, and I've been happy with it. Another piece of gear I'll briefly cover is this guy right here. A lot of people, you've probably already seen using it. It's the, what is it, Peak Design capture thingy. It's not the new one, it's the old design. I just have it right here in my shoulder strap, and I can click my camera into it. Actually, I can show you right here. So you just get a little base plate on the bottom of your camera, and then you just click it right there and it hangs on there. Pretty cool, pretty pro looking. You kind of look like a boss when you're out in the city shooting. Kind of makes it look like you know what you're doing. But yeah, if I throw it on, and then I can just click it right here, and then it's at the ready, and it locks in. You have to hit a button in order to pull it off, so nobody can just come by and just rip your camera off your shoulder, which is nice. Okay, moving on. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about light stands. So we've talked about the lights, we've talked about modifiers, but what do you put them on, or what do I put them on? So the main one that I use on most of my shoots is actually it's a Flashpoint branded stand. It's this guy right here. Try to drag this guy over. It's a little bit bigger than your cheapo stand that you'll get off of like Amazon with a kit. I think this guy was like 30 or 40 bucks through Adorama. Again, it's a Flashpoint brand. I'll link to the exact one that I use down below. It opens up to about 7 feet. It is air cushioned, so if you go to collapse it and you've got a heavy light on it, it won't come crashing down quite as badly as it would if it didn't have cushioning. It'll kind of soften that drop a little bit, which is nice. And I also like it because it's got a wider footprint. So if you're using it with a monolight and say a large octabox and you've got a little bit of a light wind, it's not going to blow over super easily. It will blow over if there's a moderate amount of wind though. So that's why I primarily use it for scenarios where I know there's going to be very little wind, or if I'm going to be using it indoors or any sort of scenario like that, then I'll go ahead and use this guy. But yeah, that's probably the main stand I use on 90% of my shoots, and yeah, so check it out for yourself. All right, so the other stand that I use for maybe about 10% of my shoots at the moment is a giant C stand. Again, noticing a pattern here, a lot of Flashpoint stuff. This is a Flashpoint C stand. Holy crap, this thing's heavy. All right, so that's why I don't really use it on only about maybe 10% of my shoots. It is, well, it's a C stand, so it's this big giant chunk of aluminum, and it's got this little turtle base here that is detachable. These legs kind of collapse in and stack a little bit to make it easier for transporting. But this thing is a beast. It is very heavy, but it is also great for any type of shoot that you're gonna be doing where there's gonna be heavy wind and you got a heavy light and a big modifier on top of it. It helps keep it or prevent it from blowing over. It will not prevent it. If you get strong winds on a beach or something with a large modifier, it's still gonna catch that wind and get blown over. So for something like that, you'd still need an assistant or somebody or a lot of sandbags to hold this thing down. But if you're gonna be shooting in moderate wind with a lighter light setup, you should be fine leaving this thing unattended. But yeah, it's a very solid stand, and it opens up to something like 10 feet, I think. So it's opens up very high, and it's also, if you It's also spring loaded, so if you drop again, if you go to undo your lever and you're not supporting your light and your modifier, and the light comes down, it is spring loaded to help prevent that light from crashing in and damaging your equipment, which is nice. But yeah, it's a very useful piece of gear. It's a little bit more expensive than the other stand I just showed you. This one is probably, if I remember right, I think it's like 120 bucks, which for such a giant chunk of aluminum, that's actually not a bad deal. And it's definitely very useful. Again, it's not one I bring with me on a ton of shoots. You know, if you're gonna be doing, again, a shoot somewhere where it can be windy and maybe you don't have a very far walk from wherever you park to wherever you're gonna go shoot at, it's not a big deal to carry this thing. Or maybe you've got an assistant who can carry it and just deal with the lighting setup. That would always be really nice if you have that. I never do, but if you're fancier than me, then you know that might be an option for you. But yeah, it's a useful piece of gear. I definitely recommend picking one up if you're ever gonna be shooting somewhere where it's super windy. It could be a little bit of a lifesaver for you. But yeah, C-stand, another piece of lighting stand equipment that I use, and it's probably yeah, something. I don't know how I'm gonna finish this. So, all right, let's talk for a minute about some accessories I bring with me on my shoots. So I got my camera bag open here, and these are just some of the things I tend to bring with me on shoots. One is just an extra camera strap. I love using the little Capture Pro on my shoulder, but if I'm gonna be somewhere where I don't want to necessarily have my camera bag on my back all the time, if I can just set it somewhere safe for a minute, if I'm doing an indoor shoot somewhere where my bag's gonna be safe, I can just toss my camera on a regular Peak Design strap like this one, and I'm good to go. I don't have to set my camera down all the time, and I don't have to have my bag on all the time, which is nice. All right, so the next thing that's always in my bag whenever I go on a portrait shoot is at least one extra battery. I usually try to make sure that I leave with one battery in the camera that's completely full, and because it's a 5D and these batteries are fairly large, I usually can shoot an entire portrait session on one battery and barely break, you know, even a quarter of the battery usage on that. But you never know, you might have a battery that just goes bad out of nowhere, so I always bring an extra battery, at least one with me. I've got 3 batteries for my 5D, and because these things are small and light, I typically just bring all 3 of them anyway, even though I never go through 3, but whatever, it's always better to be safe than sorry, right? All right, so next thing that comes with me on a shoot is extra memory cards. So I've got some right in here, I just throw them in my pouch. Again, memory cards don't fail very often, but when they do, you don't want to be in the middle of a shoot and not be around like a Best Buy or somewhere where you can go and pick up a new memory card. So again, I just toss 1 or 2 extra memory cards in my bag in case I need one. But again, I always leave with an empty memory card. You make sure all the footage is already being cleaned off of it, put on another drive somewhere, and then I format that card so it's fresh. Throw it in the camera, and I do all that usually before I leave. So fresh memory card that's formatted, fresh battery, go out the door, and then extra memory cards and batteries in the bag. But yeah, so extra memory cards definitely go with me all the time. Some other stuff, I've got some some more creative fun stuff in here as well. I've got a little prism that I bring with me on some of them. I don't do a lot of prism shots for portraits. Looks like mine actually got chipped a little bit here, oh well. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's something that you can use if you want to. A lot of people use them right now, they're pretty popular. I don't do a whole lot with them. Every now and again, I'll break it out and have fun with it, especially if there's a model who wants to incorporate that into photos. I've got some sunglasses I bring with me. I got this mirrored pair, which can be fun for playing around with reflections. I've got a clear pair, which, yeah, clear pair right here. And then I've got some other fun colored pairs that we can play with. And you know, just generally just stuff that you can mess around with, add, incorporate into a photo, just to liven things up a little bit, add another dimension to them. Not something I use all the time, but it's something I toss in my bag just to have with me at the ready. I mean, it's cheap, and sometimes it makes it, and it fits in with the effect and the location, and it just goes with what you're doing. But yeah, other than that, those are some of the accessories I got in there. Some other stuff in here. I've got my sync cable. This is the sync cable that I use with my Rhoodolite. So if I want to use this with my my triggers, my receivers, and actually use that Flashpoint, not the Flashpoint, but the Rhoodolite Neo 2 as a high-speed sync flash, I need this to link it to my Flashpoint receiver. So there's that. All right, and speaking of Flashpoint receivers and transceivers, they've got these guys right here. This transmitter pretty much goes with me on every shoot because I'm almost always using the light, and even if I'm not using off-camera lighting, it stays in my bag anyway because it's small, it's light, it just lifts right in here, it's not a big deal. So I just bring it with me pretty much all the time. Now I've also got this receiver. Again, the receiver, this is the piece I use to attach to the Rhoodolite Neo 2 and attach it via the sync cable. I don't always have this with me just because I don't always have that Neo with me. If I know I'm gonna be using the Neo, then I bring this along with it. If I'm not gonna be using the Neo, then this stays at home with the Neo. But this is, yeah, this is the critical piece along with that sync cable that allows you to use that Rhoodolite Neo as a high-speed sync flash. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my camera bag. I got some other little stuff in here that I bring with me, a little Allen wrench for my Capture Pro in case I need to tighten that guy down, but that's really about it. That's everything that's in my camera bag, and that is pretty much everything I bring with me on a portrait shoot these days. I think it seems like a lot, but it's really not. I don't bring all of my lights and all of my modifiers with me on every shoot. I pretty much, think about the shoot, the time of day, look outside, look at the window, look at the weather, and make a determination on what lighting is gonna work best for that shoot. And then as I head out the door, I pack up that little bit of specific lighting, and then I head out with that. So yeah, I don't bring all this lighting and diffusion with me on every single shoot. I just grab what I need. So it's not as bad as it might seem, but yeah, that's everything that I currently use. And hopefully you got some value out of this. Hopefully it was kind of interesting to see what another photographer uses and brings to shoot portraits. If you found it useful, if you thought it was kind of cool, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. And yeah, if you want to see more videos like this, I'm going to do another video just like this one with what's in my camera bag, but for cityscape and urban photography, that sort of stuff. Yeah, go ahead and subscribe and you'll see that video in your feed here shortly. And then if you've got any comments, you want to talk about the gear that you bring to your portrait shoots, or if you have any questions about any of the gear that you saw in this video, go ahead and leave some comments down below. And yeah, that's it guys. So until next time, take care, be safe, keep shooting, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.